Good evening. Welcome to Home Inspection Matters. I'm Jan Lucas, and we got Brian Long.
Hello, everybody.
So we took a week off. Just both of us are pretty much flat out going into the spring. This is tends to be the ramp up to the season. But we're back on track again. We were going to have a guest. We're probably going to have to reschedule him for next week, but we're looking forward to having that come out here soon. So,
Absolutely.
um, how was your week, Brian?
It's been pretty good. The last 2 weeks, we've definitely seen a pickup in business. We're, what I'm assuming is up here, and it's probably the same down there. People are trying to get stuff done as the school season ends and, get that move over the summer. So business has picked up. Seeing some bigger homes go on the market and need inspections, which are great. So, and then multifamily is picked up. So I actually have one multifamily that is booked for next week already, a 6 unit. So it's starting to feel the pressure of the busy season.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
How about you?
I'm beat. I told you I'm beat. I'm just tired. I'm pretty much flat out. I'm on on track for a record month since I
Nice.
started. Uh, I am pretty happy with the way things are going, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to this long weekend that's
Yeah.
coming up. I feel that it's good for these to come up. We get one in the end of May, beginning of June. We get another one in July. And I think a lot of people need to understand those breaks are what keeps us somewhat sane.
Yeah.
Even on the weekends, I still find myself doing quite a bit of work, sitting behind the desk, or trying to organize my week, or trying to take care of my family in their home. So I've been busy, but it's good. It's good. It's
Yeah.
definitely good. I've been dealing with some business end issues, which I spoke to you about, having to go through the not so wonderful world of Google. For some reason, in the local area that I'm in, the top three inspectors that were um, uh, the top three reviewed inspectors in the area, myself and two of my competitors, which I'm actually have a good working relationship with, all three of our business profiles were flagged. I would like to believe that it wasn't nefarious, but at the same time, I don't know.
It's
Um,
a little weird. And Google's it's a necessity, but it's also, you talk about the small operating the business. When you're taking time about clicks, reviews, and keeping your website current, it does take a lot of uh, time from your schedule.
oh
Especially, I know
God,
you have some office help and everything, but it's still ultimately, as the business owner, it falls into your realm to make sure it's right and correct. And then because you sign off on everything, you're the one who has to try to get it corrected with Google. And I have not experimented with that yet, and or experienced that yet. And the first thing I said to you is, John, I'm glad you're paving the way on this one for me. So if and when it does happen that a qualified business gets taken off and flagged on Google, it just blows my mind because I looked at your website and just Googled your business, and you can see so many reasons that you are an established business that even if somebody flagged you on Google, Google needs to have something to protect you that you shouldn't be off there, whether it's your successes, being voted best in Bluffton, if it's the other stuff you've done media wise or what your business has been part of with different groups and things. It's like you're an established business. You were like the top 10 things came up and nobody else. Like how did they flag you as not being the business?
I, I'm at a complete loss myself. I find that the Google has not been very helpful at all. Um,
Mhm.
I have tried to reach out to them. There's no phone number, no email. Their product support's awful. Um, if there was another search engine that encompassed everything around the world as much as Google did, I probably would have dropped Google in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But it's a necessity. when things like this happen, I am not a patient man. I don't think it should take 7 days to verify my business.
No.
Um, but it took a full 7 days. It was confirmed that my appeal, that my business was factual, was approved at 5:11 this morning, but it takes another 24 hours.
So you'll be back up hopefully by the weekend.
I
Worst
hope
case
so,
scenario.
and I should regain my reviews. We'll find out.
Yeah.
um, but people don't realize that we're kind of a slave to this industry. I mean, we're doing this. This helps us with presence throughout the media world, through
Mhm.
presence throughout everything. But I feel that the operation of a internet search engine that has so much control of your life needs to be more user friendly. Um, just voicing my concerns. So if Google, you're watching, you suck at trying to take care of the small business person when there is so much information on the internet already verifying that my business is Google. For me to have to send Secretary of State information, business licenses, verification that my business is, then get approved this morning, and then have me scan a QR code, walk to my street corner, take video my street sign, then walk over to my address, then show the signage on the back of my car, and then show me opening the door to my house, and then walking into my office to
Mhm.
verify that my address is my address. It's a little excessive. I know it takes a couple of bad actors to ruin it for everybody, but also at the same time, I think if Google did their due diligence and actually, before they just shut something down, investigate it more. Again,
Yeah.
it is an internet company that doesn't care about the small business. It just cares
Mhm.
about what they're gaining from it. If I had a Google's ad page, they probably wouldn't have shut me down. But I don't pay for anything on Google.
Yeah, I do a Google's ad, and it's very minimum for what I do. But the problem is that the the return on investment, it's not great. What it runs me, and I ended up doing Google Verified, and then I pulled it because it was like taking a risk on my business and my internet presence, and I was like, well, if I'm taking a risk on my media I have out there in that I'm advertising to my clients, and hopefully it's helping me push leads my way. I'll do it. But every call that I've gotten from Google Voice or everything that's come automated through has not been a legitimate, even potential lead.
Nope.
So I was paying. I had to go. There was a process to go through to say that it wasn't a legit call, but I'm like, I want to at the end of that call be able to say this was not a legit call, like it wasn't a lead. But it cost me some money to do to answer the phone for nothing for somebody asking me the calls. I can't remember what it was, but it's essentially asking me if I would deliver a pizza. That's how relevant they were to like my Google call, and that cost me $20 to take that call. So it's more important to me. I'd rather to keep my prices where they're at. I'd rather it be based on me actually doing legit sales at work. I'd rather do a charity event. I would rather have it go to a cause where I'm getting my face out in front of people. I would rather show up for a dog rescue and be able to talk to people that aren't even thinking about buying a home, but I can talk to them about they meet me and they see their friends. They're going to use me if they talk to me, is how I
Exactly.
look at it. If, um, so like the Google stuff for us as small businesses sometimes is just really you're just kind of giving money away. So
Yeah. And it's frustrating because, like I said, our business is driven
mhm.
so much by our web presence
Oh
that
yeah,
when something like this happens, it greatly affects um, how our business runs.
yes, absolutely.
I mean,
Well, you have a 2-second opportunity if somebody gets their 3 referrals from an agent because that's who they're typically talking with. They're not shopping their home inspector prior to like they do their real estate agent. Um, you have 3 seconds almost to capture their attention. And if you have 5-star reviews or you have no presence, they're going to move to the next guy on that list,
yep.
So,
All right, so let's talk about what we kind of had on the books today. A couple things that I've been going through lately. and things that I've spoken about to clients, and things that I've run into, and I think you have too, and we've talked about this. Um, it has something to do with the drone aspects of it, and has something to do with what we do for roof inspections. So I'm going to let you take the lead on this, and I'll kind of key on a couple things. But what in your books, what does a roof inspection entail?
Entail. So it's going to be describing the roof, how it is, what is the style of roof? Is it a gable? Is it hip and valley? Does it have dormers? So we're going to explain that as part of the roof. We're going to look at the covering. So is it 3-tab shingles, dimensional shingles? Is it EPDM? Is it rubber, metal? Whatever the style of roof is going to be described in the scenario. Then we're going to look at the flashings in the roof, then the guttering and the downspouts. How does the water shed off the roof and its mechanisms? The vents and penetrations. So are you having ridge vents? Do you have soffit vents? Is there no vents? Is it a mansard roof where you have limited venting that's going to happen in the roof style? So we're tying that whole picture together as we start with the roof. Then does it have solar? Is there skylights? Is there chimneys? Chimneys are then part of, I think of them as part of the roof inspection. They're a separate line item, but they are a penetration in the roof, and they're also going to have flashing that causes leaks that we're going to see in the attic as it ties in. After that, I think that is everything for the exterior coverings of the roof. I maybe am missing something, but I think I'm trying to go off the cusp of how do I do my inspection? What am I looking through as I'm walking through the roof as I get up there and go across it?
So I want to bring up one of the things that you and I talked about last week.
Okay.
And this has to do with new construction.
Okay.
Roof installation, the Z.
Oh yeah, roof insulation. Yeah.
So one of the things that doing the construction I do, I actually see it from bare bones all the way to completed. So I'm looking at sheeting inspection, stuff like that. But you ran across a situation with a builder in your area, and people don't realize a good inspector will pick up on things that you find, such as the incident that you ran across. If you kind of want to go into detail about that.
Luckily, well, it's not luckily. There were several telltale signs, but upon arrival, looking at new home construction, roof had been on for a while. There was a section that looked like it had been repaired, where there was about 8 feet apart. There was 2 areas that were had a bow, and they were raised, and it essentially looked like plywood was pushing together and lifting up on the roof. And then as I looked, you could see the rafters of the roof outlined through the roof, which it was showing that it was missing. When I got into the attic, it's telling me to look for problems with the insulation. And once I got inside, that first area I saw, they had replaced a piece of roof decking at some point. There was no clips, and they were pressing together. And then as I could see throughout the roof, there wasn't a consistent pattern, and they're exactly what you're showing there. They're just slightly popping, and you get the call from, you put it in the report, you talk to the client about it, and they're like, are they going to have to tear it off? You're like, they're probably going to have to tear it off. And, the agent calls you, like, are they going to tear it off? I think so. Like, based on what I saw, the roofer needs to come out and do it. But you guys tell me how it ends, because the buyer shouldn't take it in this standpoint. This is not acceptable for the buyer to have the roof, because if they have a warranty, they're going to have problems shortly down the line with the roof.
Yeah, I run into it quite a bit down here. And
do you catch it often earlier than the shingles being on, or when do you get?
I catch it in new construction. I catch it when the shingles, basically when I'm doing sheeting walks. And I'll reach out to the builder and I'll be like, "Hey, just want to give you a heads up, you're missing clips." But I find it a lot. on some of the houses that we never inspected during construction, and that we get called out in transactionals because during COVID, we had a lot of people get the okay from work to work remotely. So a lot of people moved down here from up north
Hmm.
and bought houses and just started working out of their houses, all relaxed and enjoying it, which was great. But as soon as COVID ended, and as soon as everybody returned back to normalcy of some sort, um, they got called back up north. So they're selling houses that are 2 and 3 years old, and we'll go and inspect them, and we'll see exactly what we're talking about here. This, where the
Hmm.
actual sheeting, the roof will have a pitch like this, your shingles will be running down like this, and then all of a sudden you'll have these bowed spots where they're supposed to be, and you point it out to them, and they're like, "Why didn't our inspector catch us when we bought the house?" And I'm like, "They don't look in the attic. They don't. They're looking at the roof covering. They don't even take that into account. I mean, what you did when one of the processes that I do is before I even get on a roof, if I walk a roof, walking versus droning, um, whether I'm going to drone it, whether I'm going to walk it, the first thing I do is pull those attic stairs down.
Hmm.
I look in the attic before I even start a roof inspection. When I do my preliminary walk around on the exterior, my preliminary walk around on the interior, and the reason why I do that is I want to locate everything. Obviously, I want to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be, but I'm also letting the house tell me a story. Um,
Absolutely.
I'm letting the house tell me like, "Hey, I've got staining on my ceiling here," and then I'm like, I was like, "I got staining in that bedroom. I got staining in that bedroom. I got staining in this hallway. Let's find out where the HVAC lines are. Let's find out where that room is with the flashlight when I'm up there. Like, do I have a roof boot there? Do I have, what do I got going on up there so that when I go outside and I drone that roof, I can actually look at those areas on the exterior. It kind of tells me a story. It's telling me where to go. The house is giving me the clues to look for.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And I used to do a slightly different routine, very similar, but then how I did my attic and part of my inspection was a different timing. And I'll give a shout out to Joe Chitwood with AHIT when I did my Kentucky classes. He was really keen about the safety of the attic first, getting up there before walking the roof. And I changed my practice immediately from that. So when I'm doing my I video the home when I first go in just to have a reference to the condition that I walked into. And I'm doing that same thing. I'm looking, what is it telling me? And I've usually already done one walk around because I put location photos in for my clients so they understand what I'm referencing left, right, front, and back of the home.
Mm-hmm.
So I get those, I'll get some meter photos and some basic, say it's a 5 minute walk around the house to get some photos, door views, different things like the fluff, and it's telling me the story of the home, like you said, or I say I'm putting a puzzle together.
Yep.
So I'm starting to see things that are wrong or that are catching my eye. Then I'm walking the house as I'm doing a little bit of, just covering myself of being in the home. And more or less, I'm protecting the home for when I have clients in there and from when I'm in there working. If there's anything that I break, damage, or happens, I want to be responsible for it.
Yep.
And then getting that attic is, depending on what I'm doing on the exterior or if it's a walkable roof. A lot of my roofs are high, not achievable to get in with how I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to walk it. So a lot of mine is drone. Um, but yeah, before I walk it, or if I'm going to walk it after I'm in the interior, the attic is going to be a priority.
Yep. I mean, it sounds like the person you mentioned, Joe Chitwood, you said?
Yeah, yeah,
Sounds like his process is very similar to kind of mine.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Um, I find it that way just basically because it's a roof could be perfectly walkable. A roof, the pitch could be good, the shingles could be good, but you don't know what you're getting into up in that attic. You really don't. You don't know
Okay.
if you've got two rotten spots. You don't know. I've gone up on a roof before and took 2 steps. I said, "Yeah, I'm getting down."
Yeah.
Like I don't trust this roof.
I had 1/4 inch sheeting on top of a drywall, and I'm a big guy, and I stepped and I felt that first one. I was like, "Well, hello there. Why is that doing that when you can see the roof move?" I was like, I didn't expect the sheeting to be that thin, but I was like, or the decking, but I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
I can't believe 1/4 inch.
Yeah, no, yeah. I am so lucky I didn't go through that roof, and then it's a big problem because I'm not going to accept the responsibility on that. I'm going to be suing them for my injuries. Like, I just fell for your roof. I can't work now.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck? So,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm pretty confident down here in South Carolina it has to be 7/16 for 3/8.
yeah, this was somebody did a home up in Dayton. The roof got tore off, and it was not a good roof. There was multiple things in that home, but that was one I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And the realtor couldn't believe it either. He was just like, "I'm like, it's a 1/4 inch."
Did they pull a permit?
Yeah, I'm assuming no,
Yeah,
because nobody looked at
that,
that roof.
that's kind of the telltale for me. So it's one of those things. I mean, I think people just think that like. So I'm going to go through a little bit of what I do. So I'm doing the walk around. I'm looking for drip edge flashing because drip edge flashing came into code in South Carolina in 2015. So
Correct.
that's gonna that kind of is a people used it beforehand, but on a lot of new construction they didn't use it until they had to. So
Yeah.
that's going to tell me the age of the roof.
Hmm.
That's going to help me determine how old this roof is. Besides even getting up and looking at it yet,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the drip edge flashing. I'm looking for any trees that are relatively close. I'm looking for any damage around the sides. But I think some people, when we pop the drone up in the air, think that we're just flying a drone. Um,
No.
I think, I always tell people, like, listen, I'm taking mental notes as I'm droning the roof of your house. And you and I have two different processes. I wait to get home to import my pictures into the report because people can't see my office, but I have three 37-inch or 32-inch monitors in my office. And I'll have one monitor where the file is, and I'll have another monitor where the picture is showing, and I can zoom in on the picture and zoom out of the picture. So I have mental notes of and notes in my software of things that I'm seeing, but I'm
Yep.
actually going through each picture at a time. And I take anywhere between 60 and 80 pictures of a roof.
Absolutely. My total normally for and I think our roof styles are a little bit different here. I'm 42 photos minimum
Mm-hmm.
per roof. For some reason, I didn't think about that number. It came up, but it's 42 photos. I'm able to Wi-Fi all the photos onto my tablet, and then I review at home too. I have 4 photos that I take at the beginning, which are aerials of every angle. It just gives me a representative feel of the roof from the aerial
Mm-hmm.
standpoint of what I'm looking at. I don't know how much it helps me, but it's a comfort level of me when I'm warming up to the inspection to
Yep.
take those 4 photos. Again, it's how my brain's starting to adjust to thinking about the roof. I take those first 4 initial photos, and then typically I end at the same side, and then there's usually a chimney or
Yep.
something I would do up there, and then I just keep getting closer as I'm going around
Yep.
because on the screen I'm seeing, and we both like nice equipment. On the
Yes.
screen, on the screen, I'm seeing are the gutters full. I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing is there vents? Could there be vents under solar? There's so many things that you're starting to decipher as you go through. And then the thing I really like now is having the additional zoom feature in the drone. So when I'm getting to the chimneys, getting to the flashing, getting to details in rubber, like I had no termination bars on a rubber roof that were needed, and they flashed up the chimney. You can see that fine, but I was able to grab detail of where the voids are happening in the rubber and the contact to the chimney. So everybody's going to understand that there's a moisture problem. So pushback from a vendor or the contractor that installed it, we can still have a professional conversation of how it should be corrected and
Oh,
get it
100%.
done. Yeah.
And just so people know, when we say we have nice equipment, um, Brian and I talk quite a bit about toys, and toys in this industry would be drones, crawl bots, moisture meters, FLIR cameras, flashlights. Um, there's a lot of drones you can get out there. The two companies that kind of lead the way when it comes to inspection and droning and stuff are, one company called Autel and another company called DJI. And everybody's familiar with DJI. They both have magnificent equipment. They both have their pros and their cons. Um, but the big thing is if you're an inspector and watching this, don't cheap out. When I first started, I bought a DJI Mini, which was great for the first 4 months. I bit the bullet and bought a DJI Enterprise 2, DJI Mavic Enterprise 2, and dropped about $6,000. And then I bought a DJI Zoom 2 because I like the zoom feature in and out. Don't cheap out if you're buying a drone. Don't realize that your tools are your best assets. They're going to make it so that the educated conversations that you're going to have are giving documentation and proof moving forward. And for homeowners, realize that this goes back to our justifications of price. Our justifications of price when it comes down to, why are you more expensive than this guy? Does he walk your roof? Does he drone your roof? Is he inspecting it from a dock pole? Is he inspecting it from the bottom of a ladder? Personally, I do not like standing on the bottom of a roof and looking up. I used to climb rock. I used to go rock climbing. I used to do a bunch of crazy stuff. I don't mind walking a heavy pitch roof. I prefer not to. That's why I have drones. And I'm sure it's the same with you, Brian. I mean, dock pole versus drone. Which one do you like better?
Oh, it's drone by far, but Dockapole in a rainstorm, Dockapole it is, So
Exactly.
yeah. And
Um,
in the question I have for you is, what has been your longevity of that first drone, that first investment you did? How long have you
Still
gotten
have it.
out of that?
Still
Huh?
have it.
Still
Still
have
have
it.
it. Still
Yeah.
operates. You know why?
Yep. You
Take
take
care of it.
care of it. Yeah.
It's my trainer drone. When I have somebody start with me, I'm like, this weighs less than 500 grams. You're going to have to plug your phone into it. I'm going to set up the app for you. I'm going to log you under my username. I want you to learn how to fly this thing first. They're like, why? I was like, because it was only a $500 drone
Yeah. Hmm.
versus a $3,000 to $4,000 drone.
Yep. Yep.
Um, this has no radar. You're going to learn how to fly. If you wreck this, I just got to replace blades, possibly. You wreck
Yeah.
this one, I could be dealing with a lot of other things.
Yeah. Yeah. I bought a second drone this year. So 2.5 years on the first one. It's still good. The best part is if I'm in an area where I'm trying to confirm airspace, my new one I'm having, sometimes it'll say that I'm not on a network and it won't let me in. And I
You
can
know what my answer
switch.
to that is?
What's that?
Go buy an Autel.
Oh, yes. Well, I have permissions usually set up to do it. I've just got to acknowledge it, but
Don't
the remote
don't
isn't
even have to worry about that with an Autel.
well, I'm looking at the Autel for the thermal imaging. When I do make that jump to do exterior thermal imaging, that's
My big thing is I have 4 DJI and 2 Autel.
yeah,
The 2 Autel stay with me and my business partner Grant. Main reason being is Hilton Head Island, the Marine Corps Air Station base, and we won't be in restricted airspace, but we're so close that DJI still, if you have no connectivity issue, you can't unlock it.
yeah,
And in those areas, in certain areas, like out by the Marine Corps Air Station base, in this area called Habersham, you're
hmm
barely getting 1 bar of cell phone service.
oh yeah. So even
So
if you're using your phone on the remote, you're not getting clearance.
not only that, when you're using the smart remote, you still have to tie into your Wi-Fi, which would be on your
Yeah,
phone, to
and
unlock
you're
it.
not getting. Yeah, that's why the Air 2S still goes with me on so many properties because I can use the non-smart remote. I still have the non-smart that stays in the case. I have a smart remote for that one, and then of course the new one, the Air 3, has the smart remote also. And but sometimes it'll let me approve the connectivity to let them know that I'm flying and I'm in airspace. Other times it's not, and it's The only time it's been a function is usually when I'm in a house over $1 million and I need to get to, and I can't get on top of the roof, and there is no way I'm leaving that inspection with a dockable. So,
Hilton Head plantation down on the island.
mhm.
It's literally so close to the airport that you could almost jump up and touch the planes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and you're talking, the other side of it. So we've got Hilton Head plantation here, the airport right next to it, but the planes don't even fly in another community, which is called Wexford. You've got 3-4 story homes in there because they've got the pilings and piers, which is like a garage, and you got 3 stories on top of it.
Hmm.
There's no way you're getting a ladder up there. You got to drone it.
Yeah,
But DJI locks you out. Autel doesn't. So that's why I'm kind of an Autel fan over DJI.
yeah, yeah. Well, and again, it's back to the whole premise of how you do your business and how we both feel about it is you have to show up to the property. The property is going to give you multiple things to have to deal with. You have to show up with the right equipment to have the flexibility to give them the same quality of an inspection as you would want for yourself.
Yep.
Today, thunderstorming, raining, weather crazy. I wanted to make sure I still had a second set of clothes in my car. I knew I didn't, so like I was like, I'm gonna fall today if I don't have those, and I'm gonna be
Mm-hmm.
covered in mud. I was like, they said there was no crawl space in this one, and it's not often in this area. I put the crawl bot back in the car, so I made like 2 trips this morning. First thing to make sure I had the things in my car. Used my
Yep.
crawl bot. Still had to get into the area with. I flipped the crawl bot, so then I absolutely had to go in with my crawl
Yep.
jumpsuit on. Um, 2 pairs of shoes, all my cleaning supplies. It thundered, lightning, hailed, rain, and still found time to get the drone up. It turned out to be a beautiful day, but you know, I did not stop in the morning due to weather or what obstacles the home would have gave me. Like
Yep.
I could have crawled this space with or without the bot. I like the bot going in first just because it does keep us safe if you find a snake or you find something in there. So
Or a 5-foot baby alligator, like I sent you a picture of this
I
week.
use I used that story today. Yeah, actually kept my client occupied. It's a good story to tell that, you know, somebody had to jump because of an alligator. We didn't
Yeah.
have that today. So
Um. So my question to you is preference: walking a roof versus droning.
man, I here's
You're a bigger
this is
guy than me, so
well, here's the thing. Um I will walk any roof I can walk because I don't mind doing it.
tactile feel.
Yeah, yeah. I think it shows a bit of confidence at times too when you do see something on the drone and you get out there and do it. I still drone every roof, walking it or not. I still take relative photos of the drone before I go up there. I fell in love with that process day one when I was doing inspections, and
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't stopped it afterwards. So I like having the aerial photography. And a lot of times, though, if I'm in the urban environment city, I'm not able to get access to 3-story roofs. A lot of the 3-story stuff, I'm not walking anyway. I don't have the ladder access. If I do need to put a ladder up on a roof to go up to another side, if it's got a balcony or an area to do it, I still do it. Example was I was in Mount Adams this week and I third floor balcony took the extended climb up to the third floor and got up on the roof to still walk it. Getting off the roof, I was looking at the entire city. It was a weird perspective getting off, but it was also a really neat experience. It's how you know you're alive if you're on the
Oh
roof.
yeah.
But the other part too is if the roof is greater than a 512 pitch, so that it's a pretty steep incline, I'm probably not going to walk it based on the fact that I can see everything I need to see for the most part with the drones. And the attic's going to tell me what I can't see by anything I learned from the exterior. I'm going to see it.
I'll walk up to about a 612 or a 712.
Mm-hmm.
I also have cougar paw boots, which I wear which don't damage the roof, work like Velcro on a roof. I mean, I love that stuff. But I mean, I spent about 6 years of my life rock climbing and going out to monuments and Garden of the Gods and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So heights don't scare me. That stuff don't scare me. I tell everybody, falling's the fun part. Hitting the ground's what sucks. um, I like that tactile feel. Like you said, you stepped under a 1/4 inch roof. Would you have noticed 1/4 inch if you didn't try to put a foot on it?
I no, I probably well, I take a if I the decking has to have a clear view, but when I'm in the attic, I try to get the lumber information while I'm in the attic to review. But
But
I wouldn't have
sometimes you can't.
by the time you can't see it, I wouldn't have instinctively seen that difference until I realized what I was seeing in the roof. So again, it's you're you're right. It's a lot of times that touching it. I don't know. I feel for the most of the times though, if you do a good attic inspection,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to see the signs of a bad roof install.
Oh, absolutely. But it's things like the neoprene gaskets on the drain, waste, and vent pipes. Passive air vents. I always look at one of the things I do on some of these homes that down here they have a lot of passive air vents or
Mm-hmm.
solar powered thermostatically controlled air vents. Looking at the way that they're installed, making sure that the flashing is properly there, that the shingles properly come down the boots of them,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. Sometimes you can't really see, you can see it well, but I like to look at it. I'm one of those people. It's just like, okay, what do we got going on here? It just makes it so that it's more encompassing for myself. It
Mm-hmm.
gives me peace of mind.
Yeah.
Makes it so I can put my head on the pillow at night and be like, okay, we're good.
Yeah. Yep. And
Um,
and I also like to be able to measure at times. I don't want to like count bricks on the chimney to see how wide it is or if it's
mhm.
suspect the perspective of the height. Sometimes when you're up there you can take a measurement that you know that you're having the clearances there. For us snow cover and height events, how many times I'm sitting there. Well, is it 6 inches, 8 inches on the vent, or is it actually 12? Sometimes the perspective and the pitch, you might not be seeing it correctly. The other part too, for the pros of walking a roof is because you're putting a puzzle together, when you touch it, see it, feel it, it resonates more into your system about what it is.
Yep. And I can tie that whole attic and roof inspection together in a simple fact of one house. This is why I brought up that thing with missing the clips. You had this going on with the
Yeah.
roof. Also, walk in the attic first. Notice that one of the purlins had a defect in the backside of the house. When I was up in that same attic, noticed that the builder didn't cut the ridge vent in enough.
Oh
He had
yeah.
it on one side, but 2/3 of the roof didn't have the ridge vent, so it didn't have for the 1 for 300 for the ventilation in the attic. The attic was ridiculously hot, and it was only 80 degrees, but it was a 3,000 square foot attic. It was a
Oh
house that
wow.
was designed to be a 2 stories, but they only built on the first story.
Hmm.
So, it goes again, that whole thing. Like when you're looking at the roof as a whole, you have to look at attic, roof, structural components of the roof, which are also
Absolutely.
tied into the attic, purlins, all that.
Hmm. You know what's interesting to me in the whole home inspection process is that um, I'm the same way. Is think I've always thought of the eaves and the soffits and everything as part of the roof, but I have it in my report as part of the exterior inspection, not part of the
So do
roof
I.
inspection.
I have the eaves and soffits and part of my exterior, not of my roof.
Yeah, it always had made sense to me to think of it as roofing, but oftentimes you would be using a general contractor or a carpenter to repair a lot of those areas around here versus a roofer. It depends on what you have, but thinking of that, I just because it's part of the ventilation system. A lot of times, how you're drawing air up,
Mm-hmm.
it's always been weird to have it in the exterior to me. But I've just accepted it. I haven't found a reason to put it in the roof yet because it's not part of the structure, but it's part of the health of the roof is going to be in
Yep.
that exterior inspection. So, um, and this ties back to something of full summary versus a full report versus summary. if there's something about the eaves and soffits that is a limitation and you're only seeing the summary, it might not be tied in together because they're two
Exactly.
different areas. But
So let me ask you, this is a touchy subject with me as of late.
okay,
Very touchy
that's why I
subject.
love this. I get to figure out the dirt of what's going on with you.
Um, HOA and drone policies.
I fly it, and I fly it because it's a relative. If there is skylights in a roof and I don't understand that I'm flying over somebody's private space, I'm going to be respectful and
Mm-hmm.
pull the drone back. But I try to give a relative view of the. I try to take a snapshot inspection around the exterior of the home, the condo,
Yep.
or because well, I think of sorry, this could be a geographical area. HOAs to me are always condominiums,
We've
not
got we got a lot of communities down here. There, I live in an HOA, and
yeah, but yeah. So I haven't had any issues of being in a community that's an HOA. So I'm flying in condominiums. So I think your thought on this is mostly for the HOAs being community, right?
yeah, the problem that I have is I want to look at the people from the HOA, and anybody that's watching this, that's member of an HOA, realize you do not, unless you're instead of HOA, your shirt says FAA. It's public airspace.
Mhm.
Trying to regulate or saying you can't fly in an HOA, people need to realize that it's public airspace. It is not
Right.
restricted airspace. I think it's what, 1.5 times or twice the height of the home is their airspace. So if it's a single story home, it'd be 2 stories that you have to stay above the ground or above their home.
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I just remember that the 400 rule from the top of where you're in the
Yeah,
space where I need to be, and I'm always well below that.
yeah.
So
I've had this conversation with a couple of HOAs where they've kind of got their feathers ruffled, and I said, I understand your concerns. Um, I'm not a perv. I'm not looking at people that are 65 years old running around in their underwear. Have no desire for that.
mhm.
You have areas where you don't want us to fly over this community center and over this community center. That's fine. I'm not flying over it. But trying to explain to people that, like, that's public airspace. Unless your
Right.
shirt has an FAA symbol, you can send me all the legal documents from your HOA covenants. They're not worth the paper they're written on.
Yeah, it's one of those things like if you're not over like roadways and you're not flying over areas of gathering where people are not notified that you're
Exactly.
flying. That's my understanding
Yep.
and what you're not doing. But like flying over a road. I had a hillside property where there was a road down the backside of the hill, and I couldn't see
Yep.
it based on the trees unless I crossed the backside of the road. Keeping my drone in sight, I'm not losing track of it flying. It's
Mm-hmm.
still for only the aspect. The camera is going to be focused on where it is in the flight plan. It's
Mm-hmm.
not into somebody's home. Where I was going with the condos and the HOAs is like I would get up and oftentimes there's skylights in people's rooms that you don't want to be flying over because
Yep.
that is a multi-use home or multi-family home where not everybody's notified you're flying the drone at that point.
Yep. But when you're flying over a common roadway in public airspace, you kind of want to just look out and be like, this is a you thing, not a me thing. This is not a legal thing. This is a you
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But I have to be cognizant of it because working in some of these communities, you don't want to cut your arm off, cut your nose off to spite your face. You still have to
right.
play ball with them.
Well,
Um,
and I'll pose the question in real time. What's the purpose of the flight?
the purpose of the flight is in a couple communities, I've got a large amount of homes,
Hmm.
and a large amount of homes about once a month. I like to update in a generality of what's going on in the community, what to expect over the next couple months, how homes are progressing, any delays that are upcoming, weather. But then I do a nice little drone flyover for them all so they can see. It saves me a tremendous amount of time. It keeps the people who are in the area out of that area. I'm actually doing it to help out certain builders in certain areas. So it's a tremendous benefit. But when you get these HOAs that get upset over it, you just kind of want to be like,
It's an
really, it's nothing we
educational
can do.
welcome to the neighborhood of
It,
what's going on
pretty
in the
much,
development. You
pretty
know,
much.
yeah.
Um, so how are you what are your challenges with historical inspections and drones? I mean, I know you're dealing with a lot of stuff over the Rhine, College Hill, all that area.
So the challenges are again is um where do you start and keep view? So if I am going 4 stories up, if I'm doing a multifamily in over the Rhine, it's really tight. Most people are in the city are just fine with it. Nobody they realize they've seen the drones before. This is not the first drone. Drones have been in service in our industry and around now for so long.
Hmm.
People are used to seeing it. People usually want to question you about it. The hard part is still being polite to people who want to ask you about the drone, but still being able to do your job at
Yep.
the same time. So the pluses outweigh the hindrances to so much. Like the roof today, I had to do. There was so many different bump outs and surfaces and textures and wet and I mean historic home, so mansard roof that had a nice crown peak to the center of it that flared out, and then there's multiple bump outs around that exterior and contours of the home. It was a lot of great old gaslight historic home.
Love those houses. Miss
It
those
took
houses.
me 40 minutes with the drone almost to hit
Hmm.
everything around that upper exterior that I
A
could
house
see.
that big, and you probably had a couple hundred pictures.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's what you're doing. But the details I got in flashing and the amount of service it is great. But I've met and chatted with more people doing it, and that's the part that's felt good. This is no dig on on the. I've had one person in a rural area ask me if they wanted me to have that shot down, and my
Can't do that.
response
That's
was, my response was, well, I do want to. I do need a new drone. If you want to buy me one, shoot it. And he was like, what? I'm like, you're going to replace it if you shoot it down.
and
So
people don't realize if you shoot a drone down, it's the same as shooting at an airplane.
don't shoot. Yeah,
Legally,
yeah,
the punishment for it, whether it is a
yeah.
unmanned flying vehicle, or a drone, or a plane, the penalty for shooting at it is the same as shooting at a plane.
Well, and that's the thing about using the drone for what we do is we do have a Part 107 license. The FAA holds us accountable for what we're flying. If we're flying at night, if we're flying incorrectly, our fines are crazy. What we want to do is fly to make our work better for our clients that we're doing the inspections for. I can't tell you the last time I flew my drone for fun. I can't I haven't taken it on a hiking adventure. I haven't taken it on an outdoor adventure. I strictly fly my drone for work for the most part. Kind of bums me out now that I think about it.
So something I ran across today, and I think you've run across, and I've been running across lately, is uh, and it's something that upsets buyers because they end up on the losing end of this. But restrictions.
Oh yeah.
When I show up to a house, my Spectora, I've got an email and a text message that goes out to the buyer, the buyer's agent, and the seller's agent. Um, the buyer and the buyer's agents talk about payment, signature of, when it goes out to the buyer and the buyer's agent, it says agreement needs to be signed 48 hours in advance of inspection, or 24 hours in advance of inspection. It was booked the day before, and payment needs to be made, or inspection report won't be released. But the agreement has to be signed the day before, 24 hours before the inspection starts. If it doesn't, it automatically gets canceled the morning of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the payment has to be made before the report's unlocked. But on the seller's side, it's a lengthy email describing to the seller what the seller's agent, what their seller is responsible for: access to the electrical panel, access to the water heater, um, non-hoarder like conditions, room in the attic to actually get into the attic, look at the air handler that's in the attic. People don't realize that we're not movers. We're not your organization team. And I get very annoyed with it because, I mean, perfect examples I had today, I had an inspection where the house is completely unkempt. Literally, they have bushes growing on both sides, and all the bushes that are growing around the both sides are native weeds that actually turn into bushes around here. And they've got very sharp, pointy, I want to say thorns, but they're not thorns, but growths coming out of them that, like, I called the buyer's agent and I said, I can't inspect the electric meter. I can't inspect the gas meter. I went into the garage and the guy had two toolboxes in front of the whoever lived there had toolboxes in front of the electric panels. Like, can't inspect the electrical panel. Can't inspect the water heater because there's a jet ski in front of it. Go into the attic. Can't inspect the attic because it is literally like they took every box in their life and shoved it into the attic. I mean, the types of restrictions, what are you dealing with? My restrictions have to do with the fact that there's a lot of people out there that really don't take care of their stuff and have hoarder tendencies.
Yeah. I see that more for when if I'm working for an investor that's buying um, properties and they're out of state and it's on site and it's a deal, or if it's an off market transaction, I see it more. Most transactions within the city where I find I don't have as many mechanicals and attics, the basements can be problematic.
Yeah,
So
where you're at, a lot of
um,
mechanicals are in basements. Yep.
you know, a lot of mechanicals are in there, so they are causing problems by where they want to store stuff, and oftentimes the I had a new well, the house was only 3 years old, beautiful house to go through, but there was a whole section of the basement that I could not see the exterior walls, and you never know what's in that foundation there. I mean, that's a foundation issue where it's not just getting the access to open up the panels, but when you can't see 30% of the exposed foundation, that's a limitation in my role, that I
Yep.
can't see that. And then closets, and people will forget, and I think this is a bad practice, is that the if the water shut off is in a closet, or if it's in an area that's not, like readily accessible normal, they'll store stuff in front of it, so they
Mm-hmm.
have no access to get to their water shut off in an emergency.
Half the people
um,
don't even know where the hell their water shutoff is.
that's what we tell them for in the report, photo identifying, this is what it is. So
And this is the location.
yeah, but that's the biggest thing. And today, with not just today, but closets are the big thing that you can't see. And it just always seems to be in an older home, there's a chimney, then a closet next to it. And you just know there's moisture from some point in time. The way they do the plaster right up against the chimney, you look at the flashing, but then it is just stacked in the closet. And you can't see anything. So you're taking those photos of, well, there is no way in hell I can see what this is. So in my statement for those areas, I'm like, at your final walkthrough, request that these are cleared so that you can see those areas. Until it gets into a mechanical area, say like the electric panel, the an attic, a major component of it that would cause a material defect in the home, I say we need to reinspect when we can't get to that. So the closets, depending on what it is, that even that foundation one, I made a note saying, look at it before you walk through. If you need me to come out, we'll get it scheduled for a reinspection. So, but
um,
yours with mechanicals and attics, I'm assuming it's much more problematic. Is the attic one of your worst spaces, or is it
well,
garages?
it's attics. It's a lot of attic and a lot of garages.
Mhm.
I'm guilty of it too. But if I had somebody coming by my house to inspect it, I would prepare my house for inspection. I would make it so that
Absolutely.
the inspector's got a clear pathway to everything they need to get to in order to do it. I mean, my case in point is the fact of the seller is costing the buyer more money. And the seller don't care, but the buyer is going to care, and he's going to ask for more money off the house. I mean, uh, if I can't inspect your electrical panel, well, I want an electrician to come out and inspect it, or I have to have the home inspector come back and re-inspect it, which is $150 right off the rip.
Right.
Um, and that's the other thing. We just don't come out and re-inspect for the hell of it. There is a financial price tag to it. I mean, I think that people don't realize that, like, oh, can you just go out and inspect this? Yeah, sure, it'll be $150, but I just need you to inspect one component. Don't care, it's $150. That's
Yeah.
what it costs. It's me getting into my truck, driving to where you're at, taking time away from possibly another job that I have to walk away from, or juggle it around so that I can hit your reinspection, then go do that, or between inspections, make time and get that.
Hmm.
But there's a reinspection fee, always is. Um,
Well, you're using
and
your equipment. It's wear and tear on your car. It's your time. There has to be a cost associated with that travel expense there. If you're
Yep.
calling any service technician, you're paying a truck fee for it to come out in some
Mm-hmm.
way, shape, or form. And that's ultimately what it is. When it seems like it's a per hour, but when your clock starts running from the time you take a 30-minute drive to someplace to be there a half hour on site to finish the report, your insurance, your liability, everything is tied into that. The overhead you have in that 2 hours is greater than what you have in the inspection, is how
Mm-hmm.
I look at it. That's my
Oh, it
philosophy.
is. It absolutely
It,
is. I mean,
I have the same risk going out there. I'm there for a shorter time, but the dollar amount is not representative. And it's a courtesy. Like, it's a courtesy visit, but it does have to have a monetary charge on it.
and it's going to sound really bad, and not greedy or anything, but I talk about the race to the bottom, things like that. But when I look at my watch, I don't see seconds ticking by. I see dollars ticking by. Like, okay, well, that was $10. I'm looking at how many minutes I'm there, how many hours I'm there, how much it costs me. Because if I'm there longer than I need to be, I'm stealing from Peter to pay Paul. That's why we do reinspection fees.
Well, you're also looking at it from your efficiencies. You're thinking about it in a dollar standpoint, but it's not greedy at all for the fact that what you're thinking is how can you be more efficient? And it's not for you to get to your next inspection. It's you want to do the inspection and do the quality of work that you have.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to that point that you're coming back, it does put a monetary issue in because you couldn't do the level of service that you wanted to do
Yeah.
before. And our efficiencies are great. For I was today is a day that I was envious of you when you're doing a larger inspection. I would have loved to have had Grant. I would have loved to have had your new guy to run around and hit outlets and to open windows and close them. Some of those things that take time. When I've got 45 plus windows to do on top of a larger home, I'm there 6 hours.
Yep.
It was a 9:30 to 2:30 inspection with an almost hour client walkthrough at the end to help them understand what we found in the home. Because when you do find issues, I want them to understand that when they leave.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
that's not a. It's not a 2-day inspection for me that day. I'm dedicating that one inspection to them, so I don't want to have to go back to them. But if I have to charge that fee because you've already given a day to do the bigger home, and the rate reflects it, but you have to be there present and then to follow up and correct the report and then defend it if it's something that it becomes a bigger issue after to the seller, a contractor, whoever the case may be.
I always feel bad when I put Grant when I show up and I'm like, okay, Grant, I'm done with this. I'm out of here. I always feel bad, like, good luck with it, or whoever I've got with me. Good luck. I'm done. I've done everything I said I was going to do. Like, I did the pool, I did the exterior, I drove the roof. Have fun with all the mechanicals, the interior, and all the heavy lifting. I took care of all the light lifting for you, but
Don't
you saved them an hour and a half of time.
don't ever share Grant's information with me because you all of a sudden you'll see home inspections matter. Brian and Grant talking yawn.
Oh no, God, no. Grant will be like, "Oh yeah, Jan's not that bad, but he's kind." Like Grant will tell you, Grant with my new inspector, he's like, Jan left, that community at 8:30 at night, and Grant's like, "Yeah, it sounds like Jan." That's just literally how it is.
Well, I think I know, some of the mentors we had in our life or influences we had in our life. You don't, I believe Siriano was one of the first people that said, I don't do anything. I wouldn't do anything. Anything I'm asking you, is something I would do myself. I'm
Yeah,
totally butchering
I
that.
wouldn't ask you to do anything I wouldn't do
I would do
myself.
myself. Absolutely. And, and that's oftentimes, for my last position, when you're talking to employees or you're working with other colleagues in the field, you're choosing the right. I used to say it, and it takes the emotion out of it. But work sometimes can't be emotional; it's just work.
Yeah,
I'm choosing the right tool to do the job. If I'm asking you to do this, I'm choosing the right person to do it. Like
yeah.
you're meant to do this job, and
It's few and far between that you find that are meant to do this job. I mean, this could be the. I'm going to be really honest and share this with everybody, and it'll be the last that I talk about it. But to be successful in any business, all you have to do is answer the phone and be a good person. But home inspection is a great job. You get to go into beautiful homes. You get to meet lots of different people. You're involved with people spending the most amount of money they've ever spent on anything in their life, but you're there to give them peace of mind. It's also enjoyable because you're almost playing a detective. You're problem solving. You're not giving them the answers, but you're telling them what the problem is. I'm not trying to fix the blame. I'm trying to fix the problem. You have a roof leak. This is where it's leaking from. Call this person. I'm giving you the answers on how to deal with it. I enjoy that. Um, I used to tell people through the restaurants that I've owned, the businesses that I've owned, doing the construction. I used to tell you, like, if you're the person that comes to me with all the problems but doesn't give me an option on a solution, then you're the problem. You know, Point out the problem, give me an alternative to solution. Tell me, like, hey, the roof's leaking in my office, and I just noticed that it's right below my drain, waste, and vent pipe. Cool. Let me call a roofer. We're giving them we're pointing out the problem and we're giving them a solution.
you just reminded me of and I don't know if it's a legit Frank Lloyd Wright quote where the client called him back and it's like the roof's leaking on my desk, and he's like, "Well, move the desk." It
True. All right, my
was not
man.
the answer he was looking for.
It wasn't. These are not the droids you're looking for.
So we've got holiday weekend coming up.
Yep.
Do you have anything planned?
I am putting the amplifier in my new boat. Um, I am working on the trailer on the boat. I'm going to go play golf on Saturday with my father-in-law, which is, by the way, the best employee that I've ever had in my life. My father-in-law is amazing. Um, we're going to go play 9 holes on Saturday, take my wife out on the boat on Sunday, go to the sandbar in Hilton Head and hang out and go swimming. I'm going to smoke some ribs up Saturday night so that they're ready for Sunday night. Got 3
Fantastic.
racks of St. Louis ribs. I'm going to put them on my Pit Boss smoker and let them go overnight.
Nice, nice.
Um, and then Sunday, I'm pretty much going to sit out and back on the new and work on my fire pit deck that I just built with pavers. Build the fire pit, and I'm actually getting a triangular hammock that when the fire pit's not going, we can sit on the triangular hammock like 3 people at a time.
Nice. Fantastic. Fantastic.
What about
Well,
yourself?
cool. Um, I don't know how plans. It keeps raining up here, so we're gonna. We bought a hog a while back. We have a local farmer that we've been for the meat. Most of the meat we're buying, we're getting local. So we are gonna thaw out a butt for doing some smoking on that. So we got to get that out, and we might end up with a new um, implement to cook that on, depending. So we've been holding off on getting it till we get our patio
What
done.
are you getting?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. It's still
Pit? Are you looking for cabinet smoker or smoker?
uh I think we're gonna do smoker, but we'll see what happens.
I
So
love my cabinet smoker.
yeah, it's we have the space issue. It's that city tight living deal,
Yeah.
and I've just got to figure out too. We need a new grill too, so we'll figure out what ends up happening. So, and then
Oh,
kayak season has started. So
you'll have the blast with it, man. I'm telling you, smoking
yeah,
food. I do it. I do it about 3 or 4 times a month. So,
yeah. All right. Well,
all
till
right,
next time,
everybody.
Jan.
Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day.
All right, everybody.
All
Have a
right.
great weekend and a great Memorial Day.
Yep. Take care.